So the aspect I started speaking about yesterday is the aspect of fulfilling Christ's mandate through education. And I will need to deal with that again today in a little more, maybe have more details. Let me make a very clear statement that may be guiding the things I'm going to see. Any effort we can put to get quality education happen in our country, please, let's do it. I told you yesterday that the reason why I joined to use quality education was because of the situation we find ourselves in. I wanted to differentiate quality education by saying it is simply education. The other one is schooling. And I told us yesterday that schooling and education, or going to school and getting educated, are not the same thing. That people could go to school, finish with school. I told us yesterday that schools give certificates, education gives knowledge. I told us yesterday that schools give certificates, and they could give those certificates to people that are not educated, but education gives knowledge. So people might go to school and get certified. One of us was doing a course in Harvard. You know, that course in Harvard was online, one Harvard course online. And at the end of the day, they said, if you would want to get certificate, please register here. I'm sure some of you know, and then you will pay. Now for them, the knowledge had been passed along. It wasn't about knowledge. It was about, do you want to get a certificate you can use to show that you have this knowledge? But as for the knowledge, Harvard was willing to give it for free. But if you now wanted to certify it, you needed to pay. So they were able to separate knowledge from certificate. And we know that in our own climb here, we have gotten into an unfortunate situation where many people are certified, but they don't have knowledge. And it's a very big problem. It's a very, very big problem. It's a national problem. It's a church problem. It's a very big church problem when people are certified without enough or much knowledge. And so that yesterday, I was trying to bring us to see that we really needed to look at education as a critical tool. And that was when I said, the way rigs mine the ground for minerals, that's the way education mines the man. That's the way education mines the man, bringing out what is in him and developing it for productivity. The way they use rigs to go right deep inside the soil and bring out oil and bring out gold, that's how education goes into the man and brings out the real person, the potentials that God planted in the man. When we are helping our students choose the subjects they will, where they will end up in life, we use some acronyms, but we tell them that we talk about passion and performance. We look at your performance over time, then we look at your passion. So it is you that will tell us, I like this, and I also like that. Then we look at your performance over the time and see whether your passion and your performance are agreeing. Sometimes the passion is different from the performance. And that's when we begin to have problem trying to align the child or the young person in the right, or to the right direction, because the performance desires him to be this, but his passion is on the other side. And so we begin to work on it. Can we get the performance? Actually, we try to bend the performance to work with the passion. It's only when we have made that effort a number of times and we discover that no matter what we do, this child is passing out without performing well in this direction, we can now tell the person, why don't you think seriously about this area you're performing well? Now, so why I said that is education, whether it is science education or social sciences or arts or whatsoever, as long as it is proper education. And please, I want to also say that education could be informal. Even though the way the country is going, I would have preferred that every of our children get formal education first before they begin to go into other areas of life. The reason is because if you don't have a formal education and you want to enter into fashion design, tailoring, the person that has formal education has access to many things you don't have access to, and he will still beat you there because he has connections, he has the internet to his aid, he can read well, he goes out to study, he could measure well, he know the millimeters from the centimeters. But you that just went into informal training may not always differentiate between half inch and quarter. You know, I hope you know that it is actually a part of illiteracy to say that a quarter and half are the same thing, you know, because they are not. By the time you add that quarter a number of times, you discover that they are not. You have deviated by so far. So I will encourage that while we say that some people can get into informal education, I will please plead with us. Let our children have basic education, being able to read and write and navigate their way through the academic world before we tell them you are supposed to be a trader the way you are behaving. You're supposed to be into this or into that. The reason is because the world has gone beyond where people just get up and learn carpentry and do well. It's no longer very common. If you get one person doing that, you will clap for him. The rest that are doing well in that department are graduates. I mean, one example I will give you is there were buses flying over Lagos, over Abuja in this state many years ago until an educated man, ABC, joined them. If you remember, there were buses. I mean, we have had the Kennedy Chukwu for so long. We had had the Young Shall Grow. We had had the Zuchukwu. We had had many of them. Then a man who was educated and much more in science came into the business, and the face of that business changed. Why? He brought in his education to bear on his transport business, and there was a change. Anyway, one good thing about the other people is that they quickly keyed in. They quickly keyed in because it became a competition for customership. I mean, when he was dragging away all the customers because of his waiting lunch, because of the lunch they gave, because of the services they provided, because if the buses stop on the road, there was a connection they would quickly arrange and make sure you are comfortable. Because of the communication, one key thing they were doing was communication. If you were going along and there was a problem, they will be communicating with the passengers, see what we are passing through, look at where we are, what can we do. I mean, naturally, our normal local, the Young Shall Grow, will not remember that you are there. If your bus spoils, nobody talks to you. Driver quickly parks by the side of the road and gets down and goes under the vehicle. If he doesn't know what to do there, he gets up and gets another taxi and gets away. He was good intention though. He was looking for a mechanic. But everybody is confused. Why did we stop? I used to travel to Lagos a lot by road, and I knew what I passed through until I found something. I didn't even know that, you know, he was an Igbo man, the man that was doing ABC then. I didn't know. I just found something, a place where I felt more comfortable, and then I switched over, and many others switched over because education was brought to bear in transport business. Education can be brought, can always come in every area. You can bring it to bear in carpentry. You can bring it to bear in any area. In tailoring. You can bring it to bear even in the marketplace. In the real market where you are trading. You can bring education to bear. Now, but I have said some of those things yesterday. I read for us the book of Luke chapter 2, where the Bible said that Jesus developed in wisdom, stature, favor with God, and favor with man. And I was trying to say yesterday that one of the areas we must develop ourselves so well is in the area of wisdom. Wisdom may be inside of us. Education mines it out. Wisdom, we may come to the world with a lot of wisdom. Education brings it out. You know, yesterday, I said a few things I may call nuggets. You know, I mentioned to us yesterday that if you don't get educated, I tried to explain it from the point of a farmland that has oil inside. That as long as there is nobody who is enlightened about that farmland, it remains a farmland. But any day an enlightened person comes, he discovers that under the cassava mound is gold, and he finds a way of mining it. Education makes it possible to mine the man, mine his wisdom, mine his capacity, bring out his best. And because of that, I come back to my major statement. Anyhow we can contribute to get education have quality, please let's do. Are we providers? Please, if you're a provider of education, don't focus on the business aspect of it. It is not primarily a business issue. It's supposed to be a social service. You may eventually get some profit from it anyway, but let it not be that you are looking for a business to invest your money and your mind told you to go and start a school. That is not fair. You are taking advantage of these younger ones, and some of us who are parents who don't know what is the difference between a school and where people learn and just a compound where children gather together. Don't take advantage of people like that. Let it be that if you really called it a school, let it be a school. Let people that go there get education. And it is important, therefore, that whatever role you are playing, or maybe you are a parent, and that's one of the things we wanted to talk about, and I will talk about it a little while after now. If you're a parent, think of how to give your children a good head in life. And the best way I can see for now, the most popular for now, is education. I didn't mean that other facets, even though they are not as popular as education. I mean, how many children go to apprenticeship? How many children go to school? It's obvious that school is the most popular. If they are going to school, let them not regret not joining their colleagues in learning to be a mechanic. You know why they would regret? By the time they finish school without knowledge, their colleagues who went into learning carpentry have become boss by themselves. Then the boy you have incapacitated without a good school cannot move forward. His friend is now the person driving him around on an Okada he bought with money from carpentry. And yet he's a graduate. So children begin to say school is a scam. To an extent in this country, school seems to be a scam, but it is not. Even if school is scam, knowledge is not. I want you to be very clear. Even if there is a way we have forced schools to be scam, knowledge is not a scam. Because you will discover at one point or the other that it is this knowledge that will still lift you up. So what you know is important. And when you want to, I'm still dealing with parents this time. Since I came to them, I started with education providers. I have made very simple point in the education providers. Maybe I think I will elaborate it so I don't come back to it. Whether you are the owner of the school, or you're a teacher, or whatever else that in the school system, even if you're a cook, like Stephen, I don't know whether you know that Stephen was appointed not for the pulpit but for the kitchen. Yet, he made so much impact that when the Jews were looking for who to kill, they knew that the source of the strength of these people is the kitchen. How did a man in the kitchen become the arrowhead you should kill? Why don't you kill other people? I mean, if you're looking for somebody to kill, go for the preacher, not for the cook. But they knew that this man from the kitchen was doing enormous work. Even Satan himself knew. So he targeted Stephen. The idea was, let's kill the man. This man is one of those who is making this thing work. So even if you are a cook, You could be actually a very wonderful point that is growing a school, not growing in number particularly, talking about doing the right thing. So don't take your job for granted because you're a security man at the gate. It's possible that it is you that is actually motivating one or two persons because of the professional way you are doing your job and doing it well. Now, so whenever you are among these service providers in education, please, the Lord is asking you to focus on giving knowledge. The Lord is asking you, if you don't do it for pay, do it for the master. Make up your mind that I must make sure that we pass knowledge across. That can be the people that actually reduce the quality of knowledge that people have. Let me also mention this to us. I think I'm mentioning things one after the other because I don't have all the time. Remember that for the 6 years, I'm dealing with secondary school now. And I think I have said it severally, secondary school is the most critical level of education. The most critical. If you're a secondary school worker here, is the most critical. I will explain. In primary school, they are children, so they are allowed. People say, hey, but they are children now, primary school. In university, they are adults. I mean, they are adults. They should know what they are doing. The link between the stupid child and the villain adult is the secondary school. I don't know whether it makes sense to you now. If we can turn this silly child who will left to be silly because he's a child, and don't let him become I want to use a fair word, don't let him become a troublesome adult in the university. The secondary school is key. Our children are made and mad in the secondary schools. Before they go to university, they're already spoiled. And so when they go there, what they are bringing, deal with what happened in primary school and secondary school. But whatever spoils in secondary school, we will not be able to deal with it in the university. Why? Nobody is using a cane in the university. Nobody is asking whether you go for lessons or not. Even in countries that ask, what it affects is your score. It doesn't affect your person. And some of them don't care about score. They don't bother. So nobody is asking, did you go send it to the teacher? And now, where did all of this start? A child that was not taught to read in secondary school may not learn to read in the university. A child that was not taught to do his assignments by himself, write his exams by himself in secondary school, may never learn it in the university. Except if the Holy Spirit helps him to repent, the kind of violent repentance that will change his perspective of life. If not. So you now see, I'm not here to make a case for secondary schools. I was only trying to use it as an example, and I wanted to give you the reason why I was used as an example. So you realize that if a school worker or school owners at the secondary school level don't put in their best and bend this primary silly child into a responsible and reasonable young man, we send in a villain to university. And then we bring out what we have now. They call them Nigerians. It's a problem. I'm not really trying to talk down on our country, but how long shall we pretend that we have this situation around us? That a greater percentage don't come out good. How long shall we look away from it? We can't continue living in denial. We need to accept that it is a bad situation. University lecturers here know. I was asking a professor, how come I see your graduation list and what we see there, numbers like, I think the last number I saw was, in his department was about 50, is it 40? I told him, I thought you were up to 100 in the university. He said there were 100. I expect the answer he gave to me. He said, it's you people. He said, we people, how? He says, it's the secondary school that produced these people here who can't graduate. And when universities begin also to lower the marks to get them graduate, whatever name we call it. Whether we call it amnesty, I have had that one from a university, session, other schools call it different names. I don't know why we are doing these things. I don't really understand why we are doing them. Are we doing 6 years? We shortchanged that child. I told the principal to expel a boy that didn't do well. I asked him after a meeting in the board. My suggestion was, let's expel him. The board wanted to be soft on it. I insisted that, okay, I now use executive power, expel that boy. The father came. He became people were sympathizing with him. And I looked wicked. The father's idea was, so where do you want me to take him to? How do we get him reorganized? I told him, number one, the first reason I said expel him was not just because of his character, also because of his performance. The two things we don't have here, in the two areas he has problem, we don't have facilities. Number one, we don't have facility to manage a criminalized boy before he came here. This is not, what did they call it these days? It's not a prison. They call it a correction center. I said, this is not a correction center. We don't have the facilities. We didn't buy equipment for that. So we can't manage this boy. That is number one. You see him, that he is really crooked. And if we want to continue with him, we will spoil other children here. So if he was alone with me, I will struggle with it. But he is among many other children and spend more time with him than he spends with us. So this is not a correction home. Number two, his performance is so terrible that we also don't have facility to lift him up. And that's the truth. He had done JS1 before. We gave him an opportunity to do our 4 terms. We have a 4-term situation where if you cannot do well in 3 terms, we use first term to prepare you in primary school again. We have even hired this country as Jesus. I'm stressed. We have hired primary school teachers to teach in secondary school. So that the first 6 months, first 6 weeks or 7 weeks, somebody is doing quantitative reasoning, verbal reasoning, writing, reading for 6 weeks of secondary school. Spell your name, 3-letter words, JS1, make a sentence. And the day one of them made a sentence, they're my friends, he ran to my table and said, Daddy, I wrote this one by myself. I wrote this one by myself. I didn't want to look at where he was supposed to be. I looked at where he was coming from. And I said, come and take my high five. He was so glad carrying, I wrote a sentence with my name. Just one. This person I was talking about is worse than that. He doesn't know how to write his name. And when he finishes writing one line, he writes the second one on the first line again. And he was doing this after 2 years. I suspect he has some mental retardation. I suspect so. So I was telling the father, I would have called it withdrawal so that you don't feel bad. But I've already called it expulsion and I've written it on paper. Please, take this boy. Look for a homeschooler. He can't even cope with any class. I'm telling you as an educationist, he can't. Take him, look for a homeschooler who can do A, B, C, D to Z for 1 week. We can't bring 30 children into one class and be doing A, B, C, D to Z for 1 week. We don't have the facility, isolated. We also don't have the facility. The man said he understands me, but we should also look for a homeschooler here. I said, this is not a home. This is a college. We can't do homeschooling here. I told him we'll be cheating you if we keep accepting your money. That's where I was going to. We'll be cheating you and I'll be feeling like a crook. We collect your money, we can't give knowledge. We collect your money, we can't give knowledge. We collect your money. At a point you will also get frustrated. Please, is it not better you try something else? He is still coming for counsel. I hope he will come again this January. And I will keep counseling, let's go this direction. I'm actually looking for a homeschooler for him. So that the boy can take his own pace. You know, some people do 5 years for 9 years. I don't know whether you know. Some people need 9 years to finish a 5-year curriculum. We give them time. But there should be a facility for that. You can't put the person inside those who are blazing towards 5 years and they're out, or 6 years and they're out. He needs 9 years. You know, when one of their teachers came, that woman, I didn't know she was that smart. When she came to start, as soon as she finished assessing the children, she said she wanted to see the director and the principal. We sat with her. Young lady. She said, number one, sir, change the timetable for these children. I said, how? He said, they cannot learn what others learn in 40 minutes. Give them 1 hour for each of their subjects, and then reduce the curriculum, reduce the lesson for that period. Others are doing this thing in 40 minutes. He said, sir, they cannot. Copying note alone will take them 40 minutes because they cannot write like other people. Their own, you will give them time to, you will even need to go to their table and see what they are writing up. These many children who are looking up that here might brush them from, please forgive my dirty language, from poto to have some level of knowledge. Capacity to give knowledge. If you don't have, build capacity and stop at where your capacity can carry. It doesn't make you a failure. But if you are looking for money, you will gather every Tom, Dick, and Harry, fill everywhere, collect their money, and send them empty you came, empty you go. Let's never do that. I'm talking about education providers. Spare no funds. Spare no funds. I have a dictum I'm teaching where I stay. My teaching is save as much as possible, but spend as much as necessary. I'll say it again. Let me start from spend. Spend as much as necessary, but save as much as possible. I got that dictum one day. I was bending down. I think that day it was like my master Jesus. I bent down to pick up nails. Carpenters were working, and as they were carrying nails to go and work, they were dropping, nails now. They were falling out, and the carpenters continued going. So I was talking with somebody, and I began to pick up the nails. The person laughed. Sir, what are you doing? I said, I'm picking up the nails. I don't want them to waste. He said, if you are picking up nails, why do you spend so much money in this other area? Only to come and bend down and start picking ordinary nails. I told him, spend as much as necessary, but save as much as possible. There are places you can save, but there are areas you must spend. If you want to be an education provider, make up your mind that this is not about profit. This is not about making money. This is about making sure we give knowledge. In the first 2 years of the school, the church committee, as usual, gathered to ask me, so sir, where is our profit? I remember the Lord helped me with wisdom. I turned and told them, these children are your profits. Please, when you look at them, be joyful. When you look at them, be happy. Be happy that your children are scoring 345 in JAMB, 342, 319, 320. Look at them, you should be happy. And don't ask me for money. I didn't start this to raise money for you. Now, you see, why that is important to me is because education providers are key. See, people buy what you sell. Oh God, I wish I could say it well. People buy what you sell. If you have the opportunity of selling knowledge, that is what those who come there will collect. It's not according to them, it's according to you. That's what you want to sell. Then those who don't want to come, it's all right. But at least you know that those who come, this is what you want to give, knowledge. I also understand that some of you, your hands are tied, you are handicapped. You're working for those who don't see what you are seeing. You will need to talk to them and pray them into it. You will pray them in, your passion will drive them into it. Keep praying, keep talking to them, keep praying, and those who are working for the government, there is fire on the mountain. you see, I don't know what to say about those who work for the government. Only to say that do your best in your corner. And still pray for them. Prayer works on government too. Pray for them. Talk to them. When you can, do what you can. Let's see whether at least let there be some bright light or maybe some little flicker of light from your own side. But I still come back to my central point. Whatever we can do to give sound knowledge in education. Jesus grew in wisdom. May our children grow in wisdom. Now, so when it comes to your children, I will advise parents, look for where your child gets training, not where he is pampered. In fact, I will encourage you, because you're a Christian, the first school to avoid is the one that does not flog. I'm telling you. Any school that does not flog, don't take your child to that place. Because the Bible made it clear that we should flog. Flogging is a Bible injunction.